Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1456. Pop the cork. It's New Year's Eve, and as we say goodbye to 2019 and hello to 2020, can you believe it's 2020? I want to thank all of you who listen to Cars Yeah, who support my efforts and share inspiring automotive enthusiasts and their stories with others as I share them with you. I can't tell you how grateful I am for your kind ears and the multitude of social media followers who reach out to me every day. I wish for you and yours a very happy, a very healthy, and a very prosperous new year. Remember, your tank is either half empty or half full. Each and every day, you get to decide what it's going to be. Thank you for listening, and Happy New Year.
When it stops being fun, stop doing it.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Do you know the best way to protect your vehicle, both the exterior and the interior, is with a car cover? I've been using Covercraft car covers since 1975. That's right, 1975. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. Covercraft has been manufacturing premium quality exterior and interior covers for over 50 years with a stellar reputation for durability and design. They're the world's largest manufacturer of custom patterned vehicle covers that are crafted to fit over 80,000 patterns and growing. They are the only cover I'll put on my vehicles. You can choose from a wide variety of fabrics, styles, colors, and more. From full cover designs for factory to custom-made vehicles, plus convertible top covers, trucks, truck cab coolers, motorcycles, scooters, ATVs, trailers, campers, personal watercraft, and a wide variety of custom features. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark sent you. That's covercraft.com. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for the enthusiast and the collector. It's your monthly must-read whether you dream of owning a collector car, have 2 cars, or 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. Plus, you'll get the exclusive SCM guide to restoration shops included for free. At checkout, use the code CARSYEAH and receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription. It's an exclusive offer from me here at Cars Yeah. I'm Mark Green, and I love Sports Car Market magazine. Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited this New Year's Eve to introduce a very special guest calling in from a long way away, Western Australia. He's in Perth, Edward Roose. Hey, Edward, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I'm always buckled up and ready for a fun ride, Mark.
Absolutely.
Even when I'm sleeping.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, Edward Roose is a Porsche enthusiast just like me who works to bring clubs together and share their events, their ideas, and passion for the marque. He is the current president of his local Porsche club and created a Clubs International website and a WhatsApp group for current and past club presidents. He runs his own not-for-profit Porsche social driving title, Flat 6 Fun, on Facebook, and he helped create and administer the International Porsche Clubs page on Facebook as well. Edward is also an administrator on the 996 World page focusing on the Porsche 996 models, and he has a Drive Porsche blog as well. I think this guy likes Porsches. I think we're going to be talking Porsches today. So, Edward, I've told our listeners just a little bit about you, mate. I wonder if you could take a moment and share a little bit more about your life, your career, and your very obvious passion for automobiles.
Okay, Mark. Well, firstly, I'm not actually the president of the Porsche Club of Western Australia. I did retire in 2017 from that role.
Oh, okay. Well, but I'm still going to call you the Prez.
You know what? A lot of people still do, which is I'm trying to change that, but it's a bit hard. They even do that down at the dealership. They call me El Presidente. It's pretty funny. But you know, cool. I'm still heavily involved in the culture here in Perth, but also around Australia as well and the world, which is great. But that's the beauty of social media.
Yeah, it's incredible the reach that we have these days.
It's great. So a bit about me. Okay, so look, I've always been a car guy, and I know that one of the questions you're going to ask is, when was the first time you realised you were a car guy? And I thought I'd just touch on that. It's sort of preemptive. And actually, it's a very hard question to ask and answer, or a very hard question to answer at least, because there's no real one moment that I went, oh, I'm a car guy. It's just I was born like that. And it's kind of like trying to remember the first thing, your very first ever memory. I mean, it's it's a hazy area, that. And I guess I was thinking about that this morning, and I think it was me playing with Hot Wheels tracks when I was a kid. And we do the loop, we'd try and get the car to go over the loop and back down onto the track again, and like do jumps and sort of just a natural thing that sort of pulled me to cars. So yeah, I've been a car guy for my entire life. I run an online store called transcript.com.au, which has been one of the first e-commerce stores ever in Australia. It started in 1999. It's 20 years online this year.
Did they even have computers back then?
Yeah, they did. It was just the internet in those days was hilarious. Like everyone will remember the dial-up modems. Yeah. Exactly. We had the 14.4, then we bumped up to the 36.6 modem. That was much faster,
Oh yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't normally talk about my business because I'm just more focused on my passion for cars and for Porsche. So, throughout my life, I've basically been in that particular business my entire life, from a teenager right through. And although I'm not passionate about my business, and most of us, it'd be a good day if you woke up every day and you were excited to go to work. But having said that, I've been very blessed in the fact that it's brought me to a point where I could follow my passion for cars, not in a huge way like some of these collectors. I've only ever got one or two at a time. But just to be able to, swap and change and experience different cars is something that I feel grateful for.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I've learned after talking to 1,456 people now here on Cars. Yeah, hard to believe that number sometimes.
It goes quick, doesn't it?
Well, it's incredible how fast the last 5 years have gone by. But the key thing is, this passion that we share, automotive enthusiasts, is around the world. It's everywhere. I've talked to people in almost every country now, and it's the same. And one of the things I think is great about cars and the car hobby is it transcends everything that somewhat divides us in times. It transcends politics, genders, race, money, socioeconomic platform, whatever it is. We all come together when it's about cars. And I think that's the great thing it is about cars. So I'm excited to talk to you today, Edward. I feel like we're in the same room here, but we're many, many miles apart. Edward is always ahead of me on the track and in the day, 16 hours ahead of me. So if you could just tell me what the winning lottery numbers are going to be tonight, that way I could go buy the Porsche.
If we could somehow figure that out, wouldn't that be something?
I'm working on it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, the smoking gun lottery win. You spend $90 on the biggest ticket you can possibly get, and you go there and you win $10, which means you've lost $80.
Yeah. Well, my son says the lottery is for it's a stupid tax. So I think he's probably right.
Well, in Australia, our lottery money actually goes to charity. So
that's a good thing. Yeah,
it is a good thing. So when we scan our ticket and it says, like, I'm always playing, not always, but I'm playing on constantly to try and get the smoking gun victory, so I can go and just start a huge Porsche garage, and build the house that I've always needed with 20 car parking. But it says there afterwards, thank you for supporting the community. And that means that the money's gone to some sort of community. But we'd like to know where this community is, all these people spending money on Lotto, because we'd like to go and live in this community because it's a cashed up community. Money's got to be going somewhere.
Ours is supposed to be going to schools, but I'm not so sure that any of it ever ends up there. But we'll talk about all that another day. But now we're going to get back to reality. I would love to start our talk here with a success quote or a mantra, some kind of saying that has a meaning for you that kind of drives your life a little bit. It's a nice way to get those Porsche wheels turning here on Cars. Yeah. So, Edward, grab the wheel.
Well, it's a very simple one. One of my mantras that I take with me when I'm doing certain things, especially with regards to being on committees and other sort of organizations, is when it stops being fun, stop doing it. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about this because, people will say that and they'll go, well, that's easy for you to say. But I like having you on the show because your main business is aside from cars, but you've involved your life in cars. And I always tell people, they say, well, Mark, you're so lucky. You get to be around cars and car people all day long. I have a great job. It pays me well, but I'm not that happy with it. But I say, there's a lot of other hours in the day you can spend time. So if you take that concept you just shared with us, Edward, how have you incorporated that into all the things that you do around your love for the Porsche marque?
Well, yes, I love Porsche, and what I touched on earlier was the fact that my business is a vehicle for me to allow. Well, that's a pun intended, by the way. My vehicle
nice
is a vehicle which allows me to enjoy my love for vehicles. I mean, having said that, anyone who's a car enthusiast, really, even if they haven't got much money, can still be a car enthusiast. And that's what I love about car enthusiasts. We'll get guys that'll turn up in, a clapped out 924, for example, and he's proud of his car. I know one guy in particular when I first joined our Porsche club, who turned up in this rusty old 924, and we went on a social drive, and he put racing gloves on. And I just thought, what, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
The car's worth $1,500 maybe, and he's put racing gloves on. And,
sure.
So that's sort of like, I can see that, like, at times when business gets a little bit tiresome, I always think of, this allows me to enjoy my passion for cars.
And you're right. You don't have to, lots of times you go to Concours events and you see all these very expensive cars and you think, I'll never have that. But I've had many guests on the show that say, you know what, with $5,000, I can find you a cool car that you can get into car shows with and you can have some fun with, and maybe even less. And if you got some talent and you can work on it a little bit, you can find a less expensive car and have fun in the garage doing some stuff. So yeah, just get involved in some way. And even if you can't afford 2 nickels to rub together, you know what? You can go to vintage races and you can volunteer time to help them. You could go to Concours events. They need volunteers. Museums, they need volunteers all the time. Just get involved somehow. And you know what? Before you know it, you found yourself surrounded by cool cars. So
exactly.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about a challenge or a failure that you faced along the way. I bring this up not to drum up anything negative, but more, how did you come through that situation in a positive way? What was that lesson that you learned that you could take forward and help yourself grow?
Oh, there's so many different things I could think of, but I think I'll stick to the car theme. And that's when I joined the Porsche club, my local Porsche club. I found that it was a great club. It always has been, it always will be. But I found that when I first joined that club, that I felt kind of like a little bit an outsider, and they'd be talking to their friends and saying things that I didn't understand, like terms like sup-regs, which means supplementary regulations for sporting events. I never knew what all these things, it wasn't explained to me. So I just thought to myself, well, if I ever get in a position where I can change things, I'd like to make the club more welcoming to people, to novices, so that they feel welcome right from the beginning. And that was my mantra right from the start when I joined the club, even before I was on the committee, was to actually is to welcome new members. And a couple of the guys have said to me in the past, I remember the only one that came up and said hello to me was you. And I just thought, I don't even remember doing that, but I must have done it. If they remember it. So that's what I wanted to do. And I kind of feel that I did achieve that. It got to the point where there was just a buzz around the place that was, that was really palpable, and word got out, and people were coming to the club purely on the basis of the fact that we had a committee that was really excited and motivated to make it an exciting place to be, like a real Porsche hub. And that's kind of like something that I as I joined the club, and I never, like you said earlier about people who couldn't think they could never afford a car, one of their dream cars. Well, I was kind of like that when I joined the club. I thought, I'm never really going to be able to get through this group. But just the natural passion for the brand eventually led me to the point a few years later where I became president, which was great. And that just happened naturally. I didn't sort of chase it down. So I guess you could take from that is to allow your natural passion and your God-given talents to rise into any occasion, whether it's at work or whether it's at play.
I love this story. Our local Porsche club up here in the Pacific Northwest, the president's Doug Andresi, and he's become a good friend of mine, and he's trying to kind of make some strides and changes. And I remember back when I first moved up here 25 years ago, the club was a little cliquish, and it tended to have kind of a certain type of person, and they weren't that welcoming. And I was like, what is going on here? Because the club down in San Diego where I came from was cool and great. And then it went through a kind of a gyration and a change, and then it started to be more inclusive. And I know that's what Doug's doing. He's trying to bring in more women into the club, because women, I've learned a big thing about interviewing people is I've had lots of women on the show. There are a lot of women that are very enthusiastic about cars. And there's a lot that are very good drivers. I've had racers, autocross racers here that are women that do a really good job. And also, we talk about this all the time, getting young people involved, even though they can't maybe afford a Porsche right now, but being welcoming to them, giving them rides, taking them out on the track. That's how we build that. Because you know what? We're not getting any younger. Us old guys are going to age out here.
Sharing your passion. I know exactly where you're coming from there. I love it when kids come up to the car and they're looking at it, and I always let them sit in it if I can. If their parents are around, for example. So I remember we had what I did this year is I organised a birthday party for the GT3, for the Porsche GT3, because I don't know if you're aware or not, but this year is the 20th year of the GT3. Yeah.
Hard to believe, 20 years. That doesn't sound right, does it? Wow,
it's crazy. I remember when it first came out, the 99 GT3. So I went up to the dealership and said, look, this is happening in the city. They actually approached me to try and organise some cars for their display. So what I did was just put out the feelers to my Porsche community, and I found we've got a great group of cars together, including some RWB cars from a local tuner in Perth called K-Tech. Fantastic. Yeah. So we did a cavalcade of Porsches from their workshop through to Porsche, through Porsche Motion, which was set up on the city foreshore. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I remember we had all our GT3s on display separately to the rest of the cars, right? So we had all the pleb Porsches, inverted commas, parked over there, and the GT3s up the front. So when we were leaving, there was kids taking photos, and there was one kid there, and he's looking. I said, "Do you want to get in, mate?" And like his mum, he said, "Mum, can I get in?" Yeah. So he jumped in the car, and he immediately gave the phone to his mum. And I said, "You can rev the engine." So he's revving the engine, and he's calling out to his mum, "Mum, are you videotaping this? Are you getting this?" And she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Make sure you videotape the exhaust pipes." Because it's got the little twin exhaust pipes. And like, yeah. I just loved sharing that with that kid, because you know what? That kid is me. And it's
he's made. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's
you got him. Yep.
Yeah.
That was me as a kid too. I love it.
You're just wide-eyed and you think, you see this machine and you just can't believe that it exists, and how are you ever going to get your hands on one? And you can't, but you love it. And I'm like that now with cars I can't afford. Like, even though in Australia we can't get, for example, Carrera GTs here, they don't meet Australian design rules, and neither does the 918. So, but I'm like that with those cars. To me, these are those holy grail cars that I'm never going to be able to afford. They're like $1 million+, but I've still got this. When I'm around them, I'm still really happy to be around these cars and just to see them. And if I ever get the chance, I've never actually seen any of those in the metal. I'm just thinking that one day that's what I'll do.
You will, and you'll be blown away, I promise you. Yeah, they're pretty spectacular. Well, how about your first car? Is there a first car in your life? Maybe it's a Porsche, probably, where you finally got the car of your dreams you've been working so hard for.
Well, I actually, I've been through 3 car phases, major car phases in my life. So I started out, my very first car was a beat up Beetle, a white Beetle with, big fat tyres on it, a Volkswagen, but I should have kept that car because it was worth a fortune now. But at the time I didn't realise, of course. But my first the 3 major car groups. So the 3 parts of my life were in my 20s, I was into Hondas. So I loved the Hondas, probably because they were connected with Formula One. And even though like later on when we started having kids, I had Honda CR-Vs, which were this SUV version of the car. I still stuck with Honda for a while because I just loved their build quality and the fact that they were connected with Formula One. And then I moved into Mercedes-Benz in my 30s. I didn't have lots of them. I always had one at a time. But every time the new model came out, I would trade up and, refinance and, be in that. And I'm thinking back now, I should have probably been a Porsche guy back then. But then I had my midlife crisis it's not midlife crisis, a real one. It's like what I thought was a midlife crisis around the end of my 30s. And I thought, I always loved Porsches, but I always thought I couldn't afford one, which is crazy because I was buying Mercedes-Benzes, but and really I didn't ever look at it. So I finally took the plunge. I thought I'm 38 or 39. I don't want to buy a Porsche in my 40s and look like an old guy behind the wheel. So I bought a sight unseen too from the Eastern States, a speed yellow Boxster S. Manual.
Cool. Yeah.
Now this was an early 2000 model. It was the first car to have parking sensors, and these were huge. These were not like recessed into the bumper. These parking sensors were like a few inches high. But it had leather interior and it had a CD player. And what I loved about it is you push it, and anyone who's got a 986 Boxster from the early ones, from the 97, 98, 99, and even 2000. they probably don't know this, but if you push a little button on the stereo, it flips out and there's a tape deck behind it.
Yeah.
So I immediately went and found all my tapes, and I was cruising down the streets playing all my 80s tapes. It was great. So, so that was my first, that's my first Porsche. My first really cool car was probably a Triumph Dolomite Sprint. I don't know if you know what that car is.
Yeah. You don't see them over here in the U.S., but yeah.
I should have kept that one too, actually. There's another car that's gone up in value again. But that had like the fake leather roof. It was, I think, vinyl, and it had a manual gearbox and a wood grain dash, but it was real timber in those days. So it wasn't like, I've actually had to cut down trees for this, for the wood grain.
For the wood, yeah, absolutely.
So that was another cool car. And it was yellow. It was like a garish sort of color.
Okay.
You know?
That's an odd color for that car, I would think. I can't trying to envision that in yellow, but at least people see it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it was, exactly. Well, I do like speed yellow. So that was, nice. My first foray into real sport. A Renault Fuego was another one I had, a manual Renault Fuego Coupe, 1984. I thought this car was the bee's knees, but you know what? It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good at all.
Yeah. The Renaults are they struggle a bit. Yeah, we had one when I was a little kid, and it was nothing but problems, but it was kind of funky. No one else had one, so that was kind of cool.
I thought it was a supercar, simple as that. But you know what? Whatever car you own, a car guy always loves, there's always one car that they own that's their supercar. And it was the Triumph, and then I got a Honda Integra, and I thought that was like a $40,000 car, like it was a lot of money, and I was so excited about this car. But look at them now, and they're driving around the streets, and no one's really looked after them.
Well,
anymore.
You don't even see them anymore. When my wife and I were first married, the first new car we bought together was a new car for her. It was a Jetta GLI, and after that, car. we had that car for about 9 years. It was a great car, and then we went in. First and only Japanese car I've ever owned. We were going to buy an Integra, and then the salesman was very smart. He said, well, you should drive the upper level model here, the Acura. Let's see, what am I thinking here? Not the Integra, but the
the Legend.
The Legend, yeah. He goes, you just should drive that as a comparison. And I looked at him like, no, don't do it. And guess what we ended up buying? The Legend.
Oh, did you really? I've had a Legend as well, believe it or not.
It was a great car. It was, we had that car for 10 years. It was an awesome car.
But what year was that? Because my Legend was like an 06 or something, and it was pretty flaccid. The actual suspension was poor. It understeered everywhere.
It was the first generation when they first came out. So what would that have been? The 90s, early 90s, somewhere in there?
But that was the best one. That is actually awesome. The prettiest Legend.
A great looking car. It treated us so well. It was a really, really nice car. We kept it about 6 months too long because things started going wrong. Had a lot of miles on it, close to 200,000 miles, but it was a great car. Well, let's talk about what has you excited and fired up right now. Now, this is New Year's Eve, so we've got 2020 barreling down in our face here. What is you excited about the new year?
What am I excited about next year? There's so much to think about. Well, look, I'm looking forward to all of my Porsche exploits next year. As you know, I run this not-for-profit pro bono group here called 100% Porsche Drive Days, and it's not anything other than just a group of my Porsche connections, and it's growing all the time. People are constantly contacting me going, hey, I heard you do social drives. Do you mind if I come out with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'm looking forward to that next year. I'm also looking forward to, we've just had a racetrack here reopen in Perth, and the company there that's running it is called Driver Risk Management. Now, this track was, believe it or not, this track is near Perth Airport, which is a reasonably busy airport, actually, considering where we are in Perth. There's a lot of Asian flights coming and going out of Perth. It's only a few hours flight to places like Bali, etc. So, and this track was closed down because someone who lived near there complained about the noise, and it's hilarious how that happened.
Right by the airport, right? Yeah.
And the whole car community in general, the motorsport community in Perth, were absolutely shocked that this was allowed to go through. I think there was more going on than meets the eye.
Oh, I'm sure. Politics, yeah.
Exactly. But there's a group of guys here, led by Kim Ledger and Alistair McRae, who's a well-known race car driver and rally driver actually in Australia, have got the track off the ground again. And we had our first track day literally just last weekend. So I'm looking forward to that next year as well. We're going to be doing
What kind of a track is it? Is it a road course?
It's a racetrack, but it's not for racing. It's just a track where you would do laps. So, for example, it's only 1.6 kilometres long, but it's a cracking little track. It doesn't have any hills, so it's good on the brakes. So it's a good track to learn how to put your car on a track, how to learn racing lines, etc.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah. Well, it's fun to have those. When I got into vintage racing, I started with club driving with my BMW M3 just to see if I was comfortable at speed. And we have a great track here, Pacific Raceway, that's got elevation changes. It's a marvelous track. It's got some high speeds, one high speed straightaway, a pretty fast back end, some nice flicks and turns and sharp corners. And it's just a great track. And it's a nice way to get out there and just learn to be a better driver in a really safe environment. I always tell people, go do those things. And you can drive at your own pace. You don't have to go out and trash your car. There's some guys that do that and they burn up tires and brakes, but you don't have to do that. You can take it easy and just kind of get comfortable at speed. And they do it with all different marques. You don't have to have a Porsche or BMW. You could have a street car, whatever it is. My kids did driver's training there, learn how to be safe when they were first learning how to drive. So, spend some time on the track. Well, the new year sounds like fun for you. Edward, up next is the last lap. Before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah sponsors. When you want proven performance, there's one brand that's been around since 1938. That's Edelbrock, building the finest American-made performance products for the street and track. Edelbrock's products are designed and dyno-proven to deliver maximum results. Edelbrock has thousands of made-in-the-USA performance products for all makes and models. From their new AVS2 carburetor and innovative ProFlow 4 EFI for your muscle car or truck, to superchargers for your daily driver and more, visit Edelbrock.com to check out the latest products for your ride. And when you're ready to check out, enter Cars Yeah in the coupon code and get 10% off your order. That's Edelbrock, automotive performance since 1938. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified, and he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp., member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. All right, Edward, we are back, and I have a bit of an introspective question for you. I want to get into your head a little bit here. If you woke up tomorrow and you were a vehicle, actually manifested as a car parked in your garage, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
Look, I'm a very, very sort of excitable kind of guy when I'm around cars. I think I was thinking about that this morning and I was saying to myself, why is that? And I think what I've done is with cars, when I'm out with my friends and hosting drives, because I also host drives for like Porsche Centre Perth here as well. I do that again for free, just breakfast drives. But I'm always like really excited, and it's the child in me. I've found out that it's the actual child in me that comes out when I'm around cars. I sort of forget about everything else about work. And so, to be honest, I wouldn't say a Porsche. I think I'd be a Mini Cooper S. Just a little,
cool
little, excited little car just cruising around, which we've got one actually. It's my wife's car, but just a cracking little thing that can just take corners quickly, get out of trouble quickly, and flies under the radar as well. So that's probably the car I would be.
Very nice. We've had a couple of those. Great cars, really, really fun. In fact, I've taken some long road trips in little Mini Coopers, and I'm surprised how nice and comfortable they are. They hold a lot of stuff, too.
Yeah,
they're just incredible. Huge. Yeah, they're great low cars. I like it. I like the reason, too. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Stay on the black stuff.
Yeah, the old shiny side up. Yeah, keep it on the track.
Just stay on there, John.
Yeah. How about a personal habit of yours you believe has contributed to your success other than keep it on the track?
Well, I tell you, one thing I try to think, try to keep within my own sort of self is to think critically. So always to think critically about something before acting. Have a conservative sort of view and act with a conservative view and think things through before actually acting. So I know that sounds like a bit of an oxymoron after me just saying I'm this guy that loves to get out there, but at the same time, I always deeply consider things before doing them and make sure that it's done correctly. So doing things right. There you go. Yep. We found it. Doing things right the first time, and being able to accept the fact that you've made mistakes as well.
Yeah, facing the truth
when you don't do it right the first time.
Yeah. How about a resource? Is there one that you find as a go-to for you that you think our listeners would enjoy?
Well, my resource really is other people's advice.
Nice.
And also learning from past errors. That would be my resource. I think life is the greatest resource.
Absolutely. Now, if I could wave a magic wand and arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased, who would it be?
Well, a really tough question for car guys, isn't it? Because we feel like if we pick one, we're letting the other one down.
Yeah, I understand. And let's just say for today, tomorrow you can pick somebody else.
I'll be honest with you, and it might sound I'm being biased, but I would love to sit down with Ferdinand Porsche and have a meal with him. And I know that the
original Ferdinand or his son Ferry. Okay, the guy who started
Ferdinand,
it all.
The guy that started it all, because you know what? He made his own sports car, and this DNA is in every one of these vehicles. I've written about this on my blog on Drive Tribe. Every single smile that we extract out of our car has been engineered into the car, and I'd love to talk to him about that because he's literally and figuratively taken a vehicle. The purity of that thought and that action is still continuing today. And I can see it in the vehicles that have been produced. Even in the SUVs, you can punt those things around a track as well. That's who I'd like to sit down with and have a meal and also probably a couple of steins of wine Stefano as well.
There you go. Absolutely. How about a book, Edward? Is there a book you've read you think our listeners would really enjoy reading?
Well, I'm not a huge reader, I'll be honest with you. My wife's always on my back about that, wanting me to read books. But I did actually finish a book recently called A Man and His Watch, which I received because I'm a bit of a watch buff as well. This book is, again, something that my wife, she hit the nail on the head with this one when she bought me this book. I think it was for Father's Day, because this book basically has a purity of people and their watches. And this whole book basically runs along the context of a guy and his watch and his story behind the watch. And there were some famous people in there and some not so famous, and there were some really expensive watches and some really cheap watches. Like at the moment, I'm wearing a 1974 Timex Viscount, which I purchased off Facebook Marketplace from someone for $50. It's an automatic watch, but I've had it refurbished, I've had it serviced, and it's probably still only worth maybe $100. But to me, it's the story behind this watch. This watch is a quality piece. It's stood the test of time. So that particular book there. I'm a purist, and the purity of that book sort of like transcends itself. It sort of like connects to me with the purity I have with the brand of Porsche. So it's really worth a read, and it's not a big read either. It's not a huge read. For those,
I gotta get that book because I've not heard of that book. A Man and His Watch. I gotta get my hands on that. Sounds like a good read. All right, we're up to the checkered flag here, Edward, and I've got a fun question for you. It can be a bit of a doozy though. I'm gonna buy you any cool collector car, track car, whatever you'd like today. Something fun to enjoy, but there are some rules to my game since I'm writing the check. One of those rules is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of other cars with, or that big house with a bunch of garages. So if you pick a Ferrari GTO, you got to live with it. That wouldn't be bad. Also, you have to drive it. I don't want you to have a garage queen. I want you to have some fun. And it's the only one collector car you can have in your garage, so you need to be very careful what you choose. What can I buy you today?
When I listened to Mariana's from Porsche Club LA's podcast a few weeks ago, I remember she said the 356, and I was saying to myself, Carrera GT, and that's the car. I would love a Carrera GT. A Porsche Carrera GT to me is the ultimate. It's rare, it's manual, it's naturally aspirated, it has the hydraulic steering, it's got a screaming V10 engine at the back. I would have one of those every single day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Well, have you ever had the pleasure of riding in one or driving one?
No, I haven't. And Mariana did promise me. She said that if you come to LA, she'll make it happen. So
she can. Yeah, she can. Yeah. A big shout out to Mariana Small. She has been a tremendous person to me since I've had her on the show. You listeners can go back and listen to her show, and you should. She's an incredible person, but she has introduced me to so many special people like Edward. It's just, she blew me away. She started sending me introductions to people. I'm like, oh my gosh, this lady is incredible. The Carrera GT. Now there is a very, very special car Very cool car. I've seen them in a variety of interesting colors. The jet party they have during Car Week I was at this last summer, there was an orange one, I believe, parked there, which I had only seen that car once before. I think it may be one of the few ever painted in orange at the factory. But it's a nice car, very unique car. I've ridden in one, but I've never driven one. I hear they're interesting to drive. They got that ceramic clutch that's kind of interesting.
Oh, really? I wasn't, believe it or not, I wasn't aware of the fact that it had a ceramic clutch. There you go.
I think if I'm talking about the right car, but, it's such a special car, and it's one of those cars like the 918 that Porsche comes out with that they build as a kind of a test of future things.
Yeah.
And the Carrera GT is one of those cars.
Well, if you look at the architecture inside the body, inside the dashboard, it's pure 996 in there.
Yes.
But then it's got the raised sort of center console, which they then started to bring out first in the Panamera, and now it's like part of their design.
Now it's in everything. Yeah, you look at the new electric Taycan. Am I saying that right? Taycan? Is that how you say that?
I think it's Taycan.
Taycan.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know what? I actually don't know.
I got it. My Porsche friends are going to raise their eyebrows at me, but whatever it is, that new electric car has that waterfall center console, which is beautiful. Yeah, so you can see how these old cars, things carry through. It's like when they came out with the 4S in '89, and then all of a sudden they're building four-wheel drives, and they came out with the Carrera S's. I mean, everything they do with these supercars, like the 959, all that stuff in the 959 10 years later was just standard.
What? I forgot about the 959. Can I have that in my garage as well? Or is it just...
Oh, no, I can't buy you two because now if you'd rather switch to that'll be fine. But
I'm not switching. I'll stick with the Carrera GT because I could easily live with that car for the rest of my life. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
one day I'll actually see one in the flesh.
I'm sure you will. What color? Well, you just got to come out to LA at the Porsche center there, and Mariana will make sure you get a ride in one. What color would you like yours to be? Since
there's a mate of mine who lives in Oman, and his name's Yusuf.
Yeah.
Yusuf, I can't remember his surname. Yusuf Fritiani, I think it is. He's got a speed yellow one. We call it the Bumblebee. I'd like speed yellow, but I think with the Carrera GT, I know that this, this might sound boring, but the Carrera GT Silver, which was a specific color brought out for the Carrera GT, would be my pick.
Yeah,
because they just look great in that color.
Nice color for sure. You see a lot of, in the Middle East, they like yellow cars. That seems to be a color of choice. I was at the Porsche factory once, and I went down to their special dreams department, and there were 3 of these incredible custom Porsches that were all yellow. And I mean, everything
inside
on the
as
car was yellow everywhere. I mean, even the valve stems were yellow. It was a little crazy.
That's a bit much.
That guy likes yellow. All right, I'll get to work on this for you, Edward. You've taken me on a great ride this wonderful New Year's Eve. I've really enjoyed your stories. I want to thank you for sharing your journey. Now, since you're in Western Australia, it's already the new year where you are, so I'm going to do real hard to keep up with you, but I wondered if you could offer us one little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you drive off down the track in your very own Carrera GT.
Wow. Parting, so for 2020, well, Happy New Year to everyone, by the way.
Yeah.
Is it New Year yet or not?
Not yet where I am, but it is where you are.
Okay. Parting wisdom. I mean, there's just too much. I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure you can edit this in later, but I mean,
yeah, if you were going to say something to say, hey, 2020, this is the year you should, what would it be?
Well, in 2020, this is the year you should have a lot more fun, and don't sweat the big things or the little things. Just have fun and get out there and do it.
Yeah, get out there and do it. Get around cars, be around car people, have fun with cars.
So there's 2 things I'd like people to think about in 2020, if you're a car guy especially. The first thing is get out of bed early, especially in the summer months. Before dawn, jump in your car and go for a drive. It is incredible. It is one of the greatest things you could do in your car, especially in your Porsche, and it's a feast for the senses. There's nobody on the road. It's just the pre-dawn light is incredible. Yeah. So it takes a bit of effort to do that. You've got to literally set the alarm early and get out of bed and get out of the house. But once you're out on the road, you'll be going, oh my goodness, it's the best thing I've ever done. The second thing is if you own a Porsche specifically, but also other cars as well, the nice cars, and you enjoy driving, get it out of the city limits. A lot of people I know have Porsches, and that's why I run this 100% Porsche drive days to sort of like try and share the love, is they drive their cars in the city only. And I had a guy the other day who's got a GT3 RS that came on our track, and he said to me, Edward, this is great. It's the first time I've reached 9,000 RPM and I've had this car for a year.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, are you kidding me? He goes, well, where can I do it in the city? I said, you've got to get out of the city. You've got to make the time to find some roads. And that's why you reach out to your local Porsche club, or if you've got a network of friends or someone who actually hosts drives, get out and just get it done, because you will, honestly, your car will come alive when it leaves the city limits. So that's the things I'd like you guys to do in 2020. It's your homework.
Great advice. Get out there and drive. I love the Dawn Patrol concept too. Being an old surfer, yeah, that's the way to do it. Great advice. Thank you, Edward. What's the best way for our listeners to follow along with all the great things that you do?
Okay, so I've got a number of things happening at the moment. I've got a Facebook page which is based here in Perth, but we're always sharing lots of cool pictures and events on that. It's called 100% Porsche Drive Days. Then you can also catch us on Instagram at 100% Porsche, and that's basically 100% Porsche, the words. I've also got a YouTube channel, which I've shared the link with you. It's also called 100% Porsche as well, or 100% Porsche Drive Days. And then, of course, anyone who's a member of a Porsche club, or even if you're not a member of a Porsche club, if you're a Porsche enthusiast, just do a search for the International Porsche Club's Facebook page. We're a growing group of people. We're connecting people from all over the world on this page. I'm an admin for that. That was actually born from 2016 Porsche Club's International Presidents Meeting in Finland, in Levi. And it was in collaboration between myself and Sigfus, who I believe was the vice president of Porsche Club Iceland. So that's out there, and that's growing all the time. And it's a great place to meet new Porsche people from around the world. And Porsche have this hashtag they used for their 75th anniversary sports car together, hashtag sports car together.
Say that 10 times.
Try and say that, late at night. So that particular hashtag is all over the world. You can just basically do a search on hashtag sports car together, and you'll actually find our page pretty quickly that way as well. And if you're a Porsche enthusiast of any kind or a member of a club, just get over there and just join it, because it's great fun. We're sharing events, we're sharing pictures of our cars, but most importantly, we're all becoming friends. And I have got so many friends from around the world from this particular forum, including friends in Ireland, Oman, Qatar, Guatemala, Ukraine, Georgia, Russia, Moscow, the United States, of course, South America. At the moment, I'm currently a member of the Porsche Club Ireland with my wife. We went to Ireland earlier this year, and we went on one of their runs. It was my wife's birthday, so we went to Ireland and went on a Porsche Club Ireland run. I hired a Volvo for that, but we had a lot of fun.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, and we've also there's also a WhatsApp group still going called that we created also at the 2016 Porsche Club's Presidents Meeting. Probably around 100 presidents and past presidents from around the world in this group, and we speak to each other daily. It's quite incredible that this is still going. And actually, right now, what's happening in Portugal is the 2019 International Porsche Club's Presidents Meeting. So that would have already happened by the time, this goes to air. But so I didn't go to that because I'm no longer a president, but I know a lot of friends who are actually going, and I'm very jealous because Porsche do a great job when they make these presidents meetings. They lay it all on. They'll have the 992s on the track, probably some Taycans or Taycans, whatever you'd like to call them.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's how you connect. 2 cans. Yeah. Oh, yeah. God. There's just so many.
Whatever it may be. Yeah. I'll make sure that I put links to all these on Edward's show notes page. And listeners, again, a happy new year to you. I encourage you to set some goals for yourself. Get out in 2020, have some fun, get involved with some clubs, meet some people. There's no better time in the history of mankind to reach out around the world, as Edward has shared, and find friends everywhere. You may find yourself in some incredible places. Take that chance. Go out there and have fun in the new year. And Edward, thanks for being so generous today with your time, your expertise, and for sharing your experiences with our listeners. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road. Happy New Year.
And God bless you, mate.
You as well, my friend. Take care. Hey, Mark Green here from Cars Yeah. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show. It's a weekly visit to some of my past Cars Yeah podcast guests, and I take you along for the ride. You go behind the garage door and into their lives, their businesses, and you get to see what makes them successful. With tens of millions of viewers, Cars Yeah TV is making its mark. Cars Yeah TV is available on MAV TV and Lucas Oil Racing TV. You'll find MAV TV on Direct TV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through Lucas Oil Racing Television online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.